Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 2026 New Jersey International Film Festival short documentary panel. Today, we have three wonderful filmmakers here from all around the United States, and we're going to be talking about their wonderful short docs over the next 25 minutes. We have Tom Bell, who's up in Maine. We have Nate Dorr, who's in Brooklyn, New York. And we have Lucy Mathews Heegaard, and she's in Minnesota.
Correct.
I'll introduce your films in a second, but thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to be talking about your wonderful films. So Nate's film is called Chemical Meadows and has a Jersey theme because it was shot in the New Jersey Meadowlands. And it's a film that deals with film emulsion and pollution, I guess. So we'll talk about your film in a second. And then Tom Bell's film Salt Marsh focuses on an artist named Mitchell Razor, who's does amazing stuff with water also. So there is a water connection there. And there's a wonderful score by Lee Reynaldo. We actually did a documentary about him a few years ago. A really great musician in the band Sonic Youth. And then we have Lucy Mathews' Heegaard's film Meet Me in Silence, which is also a very compelling film about silence. And so welcome everybody. Her film is called Meet Me in Silence. So welcome everybody. Now's the time for each one of you to kind of give an overview of your film to our audience, since I don't want to butcher it, and I think it makes sense to do it, first person. So Lucy, you go first, ladies first.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to be in company of these filmmakers. I've had such a great time watching your films. Honor to be included. My film, Meet Me in Silence, is about a year-long experiment I made into the quietest place on Earth. That is not a place in nature. That's what most people's minds might go to, but Guinness World Records dubbed this room that happens to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as the quietest place on Earth. And it was probably a mixture of obsession, curiosity, and fear that pulled me into this experiment. The artist John Cage, long ago, I'd heard a story he told about being in Harvard's anechoic chamber, which is a room designed to absorb all sound, and hearing his own heartbeat and his own pulse. It frightened me as much as it mesmerized me. So I was obsessed from then on. My curiosity was piqued because of another experience of silence I had, a year of a different kind of silence, an imposed silence by a health condition. I had a paralyzed vocal cord from COVID, and for a year could not speak and be heard, so largely went silent. And that was a very different experience. And that was what sort of pushed me over the edge to finally take the leap and realize I have an anechoic chamber in my backyard, and go once a year to see what positive things I might learn from the silence. I was pretty surprised.
Yeah,
So
your film is pretty amazing. And I think all of the things that you mentioned are visualized in a very unique way. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Tom, tell us about your film.
My film Salt Marsh is about a main artist, Mitchell Razor, who paints watercolors in winter on a salt marsh here on the Maine coast, right in my town. And it began really as a very small little documentary showing how he does it technically. He doesn't use a paintbrush. He uses Phragmites, which is an invasive reed, as a paintbrush. The water freezes, and while he's painting, he uses that part of the process. And it was supposed to be just a 3-day project, but I was really struck by how cinematic it was, and how this environment of the salt marsh was changing all the time because of the tides, the weather, the sun. And instead of a 3-day project, it became a 3-year project.
Wow.
I filmed it over 3 winters. I finished last summer, but this winter was such a great winter here in Maine. It was so cold and deep. I just couldn't help myself but do some more filming. In February, there was a blizzard here in Maine, and I went out in the middle of the blizzard to see what the salt marsh was looking like then. So the film is about this obsession of this artist who's obsessed with painting in the salt marsh, and in the end, it becomes I become obsessed with it as well while making this film.
Yeah, the artwork is that comes out is just amazing as well. I wonder, did he give you any of his art?
No, he did not. It's it's interesting that he's an unknown artist. Not that many people know him, but I think the film is going to help a lot of people be aware of his beautiful work.
Yeah.
We showed it recently at the Portland Museum of Art to a sold-out audience, and he gave a 40-minute talk after the screening. It was a great event. So it's very satisfying to make a film about an artist and help other people discover him as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool, and I think he will get more recognition, I think, thanks to your beautiful film.
And a very important part of the film is the music by Lee Ronaldo,
Yeah.
co-founder of the Sonic Youth. It's an original score, and it's not like a pleasant pastoral kind of music you might think about for a landscape artist. It's very aggressive, drony kind of stressful music, and and um, the music really I got the music first and built the film around the music, and it really propelled me forward as I was editing, and because it was drone music, I found I could cut it, move things around, and shape it. So it was really a music and art and film coming together.
Wonderful. Well, Nate Dorr has shown two of his other works. He's a festival alumnus, so we're very familiar with his very wonderful work. And this he had mentioned to me about a year and a half ago that he was working on this because we had another filmmaker who did a film about the Meadowlands, and I connected him with her. And so now I got to see how it turned out, and it came out beautiful too. So tell us, Nate, tell us about the process.
Thank you, Al, and thanks to all of you. I'm glad to be here. But yeah, I think I've been threatening to make this film every time I've come down to the festival for years now, and yeah, it's done. The Meadowlands are just a place that I've been going to for years. It's such a fascinating, vast wilderness right outside the city, and between other cities. Like it's framed by huge population centers, but left to itself. Um, well, left to itself besides all the industry that was there and put all kinds of things into the water. So I wanted to make a film about it that would capture this sort of complex layered reality of it, the human impact, but also the fact that it's a reclaimed wilderness now that animals thrive in to some extent. Um, so I try to make all my films differently. Usually I shoot very digitally, but this felt like a time to get into film because water chemistry and photochemistry can be related and can draw out the sort of hidden meaning of the landscape, I hoped. So it was really very much an experiment. And it came out to the extent that you really do see some wild results from just filming in these areas and then soaking my 16 millimeter film in the water right there before I developed it to see what I would pick up and reveal. So that was the concept. And yeah.
So it's a wonderful film, and there is a connection. You showed the Triborough, this film that we screened at our Super 8 festival, and you kind of find these backwater places, even though Triborough is on land, these isolated spaces where there's not too many people, and you're able to, I guess the word terrain vague came to mind when I watched this film too. And who is this nice cat that you got there?
Oh, this is Moon, who would also like to be at the
Hello,
festival, but
Moon.
probably can't visit.
You know, I do a lot of humane work. I think I've saved like 150 cats
Oh,
over
wow.
Wow.
2 decades. There's a colony on campus I've been taking care of for 25 years. So I'm a big cat person. So anytime any animal shows up on one of these Zooms, it's always an extra treat. So Moon, you're welcome to join us. There's a close up. All right.
All right.
So Nate's film is really wonderful, and you see the connection. If when you come, folks, to our festival and you see these films, you'll see the connection between Tom's movie and Nate's because they both use water, I mean, to create art in a way. And I thought that was a really good pairing. But the ironic thing is that your films are not playing together. You're actually playing on separate show dates. And we'll go into that in a second too. But I wanted to return back to Lucy's film. So, Lucy, when you went into this space, it seems like a very monastic thing. Like when you couldn't speak for a year because of COVID, it's almost like taking a vow of silence. I mean, I know it was not imposed on you, but it seems very spiritual in some ways. Did that come to be actually when you were dealing with not able to speak?
Very much so. I found that imposed silence of my health issue, and people can have lots of health issues that cause them to lose their voice. So I've had similar conversations with strokes, people that have survived strokes, and people with Parkinson's. But my sense of identity would just went because I couldn't chime in with a thought or the way I might just interact with a person sales clerk at a store or something. And so I felt like I lost myself,
Hmm.
and it was a real struggle at times. And so coming to the anechoic chamber after that, I was probably 6 months out from getting my all clear. I sound normal now, but one of my vocal cords still doesn't work properly.
Wow.
But I got the all clear, and about 6 months later, I started going to the anechoic chamber. Why not choose silence? What if I choose it and I do it on purpose rather than it happened to me and I couldn't control it? And I did learn a lot of resilient techniques in that experience, but what if I went in on purpose? And that mindset probably impacted how I received it. And then the surprise when I ended up sitting with strangers every month, which wasn't really part of my plan, but that taught me even more, actually, as much as the silence itself.
Hmm. How so? How so?
Well, I really thought I needed to be in this monastic alone setting and enjoy this or experience this complete silence on my own.
Hmm.
And affordability made it, an easier choice to choose being in the room with 5 people. But what I found is their sounds, which, all of our sounds would mingle in the room. Ultimately, by the end of a year, I began to look forward to who was going to show up. I didn't know any of them, whoever bought a ticket. And I'd walk into the sound lab lobby and I could just read the room at the end and I'd be like, oh, this is going to be a good one. And I would just notice the energy of people and your energy's all in the room. I don't, and it sounds kind of new agey and I don't have any study of like people's energy fields or anything, but that's what I felt. I experienced the energy of the room, the goodwill of people in the room. And even without speaking, there seemed to be some knitted connection between us that I felt as I left. And it still makes me kind of have goosebumps when I say it because it really profoundly changed me.
I don't know if I could do it. I think I'd be too scared, but
Many people say that. There's either the people who are like, I gotta go, or to try it, or that like, don't think so. I'll watch the film. That's fine too.
very cool. Nate, your film, you did a lot of hand processing with the film and the emulsion. How did that process work? How labor intensive was that as well?
So it's pretty standard film hand processing. I did it all thanks to Monanoa Ware, which is a small organization here in New York City. They are here. They're a nonprofit that just exists to encourage people to work on film more. So they were a great resource where I could use their lab pretty easily. But I didn't want to mess up all their equipment with Meadowlands water, since I was filming in Superfund sites, trying to pinpoint areas where we had changed the water chemistry as much as possible, which there are many in the Meadowlands. But I didn't want to harm their equipment too much, so I got my own processing tank. It's called a Lomo tank. It's a Soviet invention. They're all from the USSR era. I had to get it sent in from the Ukraine, and it's a big Bakelite black chamber that excludes light, but you can pour water into. And this is
Wow.
used for processing in the field, usually, if you were trying to develop your reels of film outdoors without the sun getting in. But because of this technology, I could just load my film directly into this tank in a changing bag, like a black film changing bag, and then just put it in the waterway right there on site. So that was the bulk of what was happening was really happening there when I would just leave it alone for a couple hours and wait. And then I would bring it back, drain out all the water, clean it out without opening it, and then bring that whole tank into the lab. And then I could just work there. So the
Process.
processing itself was pretty standard. It's just normal ectochrome processing. I also tested on 8mm and black and white film before that. I was trying to work more cheaply while I learned what I was doing because I don't have any experience in film before this.
Mm.
And I'm still not great at it. But that part of the process, the hand processing and the little sort of spontaneous and mistaken things that happen too became part of it. It's all part of this image that comes out through this unique process of the landscape mixing with my technique and the whole journey that it took me on, I guess.
How much film did you shoot?
I numbered the reels. There are about 30 reels, but that was starting with
Oh,
my test footage that was, expired, black and white, 8mm, and then up to the present, where there are probably about 15 reels of Ektachrome that make up the bulk of it.
cool. Wonderful. Do you guys have questions for each other? We have time for a few of
I,
those.
I just want to comment to Lucy that I think I'd be one of those people that'd be very afraid to go into the wood chamber. I find just lying in bed at night trying to go to sleep difficult. We got ringing in my ears seems like a locomotive train. I'm thinking about things I did when I was in my teens that I shouldn't have done. It's just like I feel like that making films, going to work, being with people, those are like distracting and very welcome distractions from the kind of terror of your own mind, and so yeah, so good for you for being brave enough to explore this.
Well, thank you. A lot of people say that, and not to make someone do something that would make them afraid, because I would never do that. But some people find that those things disappear more easily in this extremely silent environment. It also feels like you're a little bit in a pressured environment. It's false sensation, but the lack of sound makes you feel a pressure. To me, it felt like a security blanket, like I had a weighted security blanket on me.
Wow.
But it's become an obsession that's not over, so I'm going to continue some work on it. I would say, well, Tom, your film is lyrical and beautiful, and not just the artist's work merges in. I loved hearing that you worked with the score and could move that around, because I find myself doing that some, and I'm newer at this, I think, than you are. So I feel heartened that that's the way you're working. And Nate, gosh, I love your bravery to take that expensive film and put it in the polluted water. And then also the beauty of the chance you allowed to happen in your film. What was going to happen, you didn't know. And then some of those images are just stunning. I more like to work in experimental than this current work shows. So I love to do digital collages that surprise me in how they come out. So I loved both your work so much. So glad to be acquainted with it.
It's very true. I would say Stan Brakhage would also really, really like your
Yeah.
film, because I mean, he didn't really work that way, but he might have if he still was living. So there's definitely a lot of echoes of his work in yours, even though they're completely different.
Mhm.
I'd
Any
like
other
to,
any other
oh,
questions? Go ahead, Nate.
I'd like to hear more about both of your visual approaches because they're so different and they're so beautiful and rich and convey the subject so well.
I guess for me, I'm a former newspaper reporter. Most of my career, I was a journalist, and I'm really interested in people reading my stories and staying with the story and not getting bored and keeping them moving along. And so when I found myself making a documentary, I'm very focused on that as well. I don't want people to be bored, but how do I do that with a documentary about an artist? And so in this film, I do that with some suspense. That's everything the viewer doesn't know. Are they looking at what are they going to look at next, right? And the music is very suspenseful, and the viewer is unclear what they're looking at. Are they looking at a painting? Are they looking at a drone shot of a snowfield? Are they looking at a micro photo image, super close up of nature or art? And so my idea was to keep people's interest by suspense and being unpredictable. And whatever methods I could use to do that, I deployed.
Very cool. Lucy?
Uh, yeah, I'm not a fan of talking heads on documentaries, and so I probably err too far on the other side. I've had people say in early works, I would have liked to seen their face at some point, and I'm like, oh, sorry, but I don't like being on camera, so that's maybe part of it. Visually, I wanted to give somebody the feeling of walking in the door of this lab and traversing from real world into kind of a surreal world and what that might be like. For the sequence on darkness, I drew some inspiration from a film by Derek Jarman, 1990s, I want to say, Blue, if you've
Blue,
seen
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it's almost like completely just narrative and, well, pretty much is, and a black
Blue
screen.
screen.
Blue screen, yeah. But you begin to wonder if he's making some little lights go off. And that really struck me because that was, and I don't know whether it's black or that was my mind in watching that film, but in the silence, that's sort of an experience I had. And I tried to, emulate a little bit what I felt from the Jarman film to give you that sense of, was that light? Did I just see a little flicker? And yeah, and then a little bit of my layering of imagery that I like to do as you pulls you into the chamber, so you feel that sense you're leaving a real natural world behind in a way.
Definitely. I mean, for me, we premiered the Derek Jarman film in New Jersey when it was released.
Oh, wow.
And the audience was, some of them were like hallucinating and they had to leave, which was very, I guess, in tune with what Jarman wanted because he was now moving into the afterlife.
Right.
He was
Right.
suffering from AIDS at that point. So
And lost his sight. So
yeah.
the absence of any imagery makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you screened the film.
Yeah,
I've
and it's so
admired
cool
it.
that it's connected to yours. I would have never thought that, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
The
Wow.
so,
Fabulous.
so Nate, my film actually has a connection to your film. The artist talks about the influence of a 60 millimeter film that was shot in the 1970s in the Meadowlands by these artists Holt Smithson, and the real struggle, though, it was very important for him to explain this influence over him and why he's so drawn to a salt marsh. The Meadowlands also had a big salt marsh, huge, right?
Yeah.
And but the artists are dead, and the museum that curates their work only would give us 7 still frames to work with.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And I'm like, how can I show you talking about a film and not show the film?
Mm.
It was what I ended up doing was using the still frames and then recreating the look of the film with the camera. And so and again, my film was about tricking the audience, confusing them. And so you see the filmmaker talking about this film called Swamp, filmed in Meadowlands, and you think you're looking at the film called Swamp. It's all, in a square format and grainy. It looks like 16 millimeter, and then you see the artist walk into the film. So suddenly he appears in this 1970s film with a Bolex camera and talking about the influence. So
You found a workaround.
I found a workaround.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Well, I think we can talk forever, and guess what? We will be able to. I think I know Nate is coming, but Nate's going to be there for the opening night because he's part of the opening night program, and I know Lucy's coming from Minnesota. I don't know, Tom, are you going to be coming down for the show?
Yes, I'll be coming, and I also think the artist Mitchell Razor.
Wonderful. So then we'll be able to dialogue with the in-person audience. And so, folks, I'd like to share a screen now to show you how you could be able to come to our festival, buy tickets, and I'll help you navigate through that. This is our homepage. You guys can see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our homepage, everything used to be here, but because of COVID, we had to become an online festival. And as a result, once we became an in-person festival again, because we had developed this new audience, we did not want to exclude them. So we maintained an online presence, which means that we're a hybrid festival. We show most of the films online. And then we also have select in-person screenings. So you would go to njfilmfest.com, which is our website. And once you get there, you will see this placeholder basically for the international festival. And you absolutely must click on the tickets info button. Once you press that, it'll bounce you to our welcome page for our website, which is hosted by Eventive. Eventive is the streaming provider. So this way, everything is there and it makes it a little bit easier. And when you get to our homepage, there is some information here. Basically, if you want to get parking and information on how to get to us, that's where the welcome page comes in handy. You click on this link and you register your car and you can park for free in the university lots that are adjacent to the space. And there's also a map on how to get to the screenings, which are all in Voorhees Hall, room 105 on the Rutgers University campus. We're a block away from the New Brunswick train station. It's very convenient. And then once you're in the welcome page, you want to click on all these buttons. The schedule page gives you a linear, very old school version of the schedule. And if you can see, Friday, May 29th, Chemical Meadows by Nate is playing as part of a block of 3 films that are shorts and a feature, Sonia and Lisa on mushrooms. All the films kind of feed together. There's some experimental work for the first 3, and then it's a narrative buddy film, basically, the Vincent Turturro's film. Then if you scroll down a little bit further and you get to June 5th, you can see the short documentary lineup that we have, where Tom's film will be playing along with Lucy's. And then we have Rob Herring. We're going to be showing his kind of longish short documentary called Greenfield, which is about an environmentalist. We'll be showing Nastaran Bagheri's really interesting film about Iranians in the United States during the land of Trump. The era of Trump, which is, I guess, not very pleasant. And then we have Entre Luz, which is also a kind of political documentary. So there's a kind of mix, but all the films kind of feed into one another. They all deal with place. And I think it's a very, very, my job is that there were 680 films plus that were submitted. And then the jury selects them, and the jury is made up of people like myself, academics, previous winners, press people, a lot of student interns that are part of the festival. And they select these films, and I have to find a home for them. So my job is to curate them, and I usually do a pretty good job. And I think this program came out really, really great. Once you finish kind of scrolling through the schedule, you click on the tickets button, and that's where you can buy tickets for all the shows. If you want to come and see Nate's film, you click on this button. And I don't know why it's in French. Oh my God. They speak French up in your way too, right, Tom? You're so close to the French. But
Yes.
yes, En Savoir Plus is if you want to learn more, and buy here. So you just click on the buy here button. And if you wanted to come and see the short documentary program on June 5th, you just kind of hover over the image and then work your way down and hit the buy now button. You can go back to the festival site. You want to buy an all access pass, you can do that right here. That's really great. If you're going to watch more than 2/3 of the movies, it really kind of pays for itself, and it's really a great deal. And then our last page that I'm going to show you is the film guide, which has little blocks for each and every one of the films. You want to see some images from Nate's films, you can check it out here. You want to see images from, oh gosh, where are we? Meet Me in Silence. You can see images, some of the animation stuff that Lucy did for her movie. And then we work our way all the way down, and you can see the artist actually working with the reeds to paint his paintings. So you get a little bit of a taste of what the various films are. And that's kind of an overview of our website. You just click on all the buttons and bounce around, and you can get a ton of information there. And unfortunately, we've run out of time, but everybody will be at our screenings, so you can meet them at the festival. The festival tickets are $15 per program, and that includes in-person and online. It's good for both. And we have a number of people that watch the films during the day, and when there's an in-person screening, they come and hang out to do the Q&A with the filmmakers. It's a really wonderful thing. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you had a good time.
It was great. Thank you. Looking forward to the festival.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you both, Nate and Lucy.
Me
Wonderful.
as
Thank
well.
you so much,
Can't
you
wait.
guys. Thank you.